It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island. 'Cause nothing's better than emotion.
It's Movie Time is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to broadcast shows Fridays at 4:01 and 8:01 p.m. Read reviews and listen to shows online at WCBE.org.
I'm John
And
DeSando,
I'm Wayne the Assassin Miller.
and it's movie time. Well, I'll tell you what a day it's been for me. I just got out of a session of cinema classics,
Yes.
and we were reviewing The Third Man.
Ah, okay.
So let's juxtapose that with Fight or Flight.
Yep. I would say slightly different movies, in a way. At least we don't have kimono-clad Asian assassins, kicking butt.
Well, that Third Man is one of my favorite all-time films, and as the thriller goes, it beats my favorite '90s crime game.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm talking the top level, and so here we are fighting about it because we're at the beginning of summer. All right, we dedicate ourselves to telling people what is a good place to go.
Yeah,
Air-conditioned theater, enjoy yourself, leave your mind at home,
yeah.
and so we have Fight or Flight.
Yes.
Talk to me about it.
Well, it's kind of confusing, but then when you think about it, it isn't. It's basically kind of a rogue former Secret Service agent played by Josh Hartnett. And I know we'll be saying more
Yeah, we will.
in our podcast, Back Talk, but basically he's hired by his former girlfriend, lovely, and I've always liked her, Katie Sackhoff.
I would like to see more of her in this.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people might remember her. She did a great job on the TV series Battlestar Galactica, the second version, not the first one. But anyhow, he's hired to find this person called that's named the Ghost. Nobody knows what this person looks
Now,
like.
this is not a criminal, as far as I can tell. I think it's a witness of sort.
Well, it could be a witness, and my research, I read a lot of reviews,
Yeah.
and some of them make it seem like maybe she's also, or I don't want to give it away, but the person is also kind of an assassin. But anyhow, he's supposed to protect her, on this airplane, and which is filled with assassins out to kill both of them. And the thing of it is, they don't know what the Ghost looks like either, but they know what he looks like.
But it's another version of Snakes on the Plane. Because these guys are really snakes.
Well, and I know that we'll probably get into more, like we did a few months ago, a review of Flight Risk, and talk about that whole subgenre of suspense films on airplanes. And I got a few things to say about that, as well as the whole claustrophobic suspense movies that take place on trains. Because here, a lot of the reviews really compare this movie to Bullet Train.
Yeah.
The Brad Pitt movie, the same thing.
It's more hyper than Pitt's, I think, as I remember.
I think more enjoyable than Pitt's. And of course, and that's the whole premise of the whole movie. But it's so funny. We know what's coming because there's a flash forward at the very beginning in slow motion, and I loved it. It was Strauss's the Blue Danube Waltz, and you see all this butt kicking
and
going
look at
on.
my blue outfit. Look at your blue shirt.
Yes,
We're
yes,
right in
yes,
style here.
Yeah,
but
and we're dudes too. The Blue Danube dudes.
I know that we'll talk more about this on our podcast, which is Back Talk, and then you have to go to WCBE.org to listen to it. But I would want to say something we might be saying then. This motif of the plane and the fighting is easy stuff for a director. I mean, I realize that it takes a lot for the choreography.
Yes.
But for the plot goes, you just have this tube in the sky. It's a little bit like fast cutting away in fight scenes. is, you know, that's easy stuff. They don't have to do a thing.
But when they start pulling out guns, John, and you think, if a bullet pierces like a and these weren't just little pea shooters either.
Yeah, right.
And of course we get in this flash forward, which basically is the big climatic scene at the end. You know what's going to happen because, sure enough, there's a big hole blown in the fuselage, and some unlucky, I think it's one of the innocent passengers gets sucked right out of it, which I always love to see in movies, including one that took place in a James Bond movie. I think Goldfinger sucked through the window.
When you think about this, and you're accurately describing it, but think about the subtlety of Rod Serling's playing, but with the gremlin on the
William Shatner.
Yeah.
And which was really better done by the actor, the director George Miller, who was famous for all the Mad Max movies. The movie, The Twilight Zone, and John Lithgow was playing the character that Shatner did in the TV show. And here, there's a storm coming up, and the lights are flashing on and off in the airplane. And boy, it's a rip-roaring scene in that movie. You know,
well, one of the things that a film like this is a summer film. This is easy stuff.
Yep.
We want you to relax and enjoy yourself. Is who's the bad guy? You know, how do they play that?
Yeah, it's, I'd say the one that was the most intriguing to me, and the character's name was Cat Eyes. You know, the woman that wore the sunglasses.
I agree with you.
And, but she was so little used in that film, I thought they could have built that around.
I thought it was a mistake.
I think so too, but boy, what a way that, and of course as Hartnett's character is hallucinating, because of all the drugs that they had given him, and they had a famous line in the movie when, you know, they said, "You should be dead," and he said, you know, because of all the poison and other stuff they've given, he said, "Well, you can't pickle a pickle."
Right, yes.
But anyhow, he's hallucinating. One of the best scenes of it, he's thinking that there's fireworks shooting out of the top of her head, but he had thrown her up, and her skull was pierced by the sprinkler system, and that's blood that's gushing out of her head.
If you want to say we're looking for some creativity and violence, pushing her up into that sprinkling system was a pretty neat idea. I mean, you can't even see that coming.
No. So, but probably, and several of the reviews really marked about this, the guy that he fought early in the film.
Oh, he's well known.
Oh, yeah, and they did do a good job, and of course this is what, one of the best, and of course every film I see, I always remark how, wow, I thought that they did a great fight scene and blah, blah, blah movie, but sometimes they are so good, because we're used to it with The Equalizer, and John Wick, and the Jason Statham films, you know, that well choreographed fight scenes. But here, instead of like a big area that they're flying around, that it's the cramped space of an airplane. But you and I both remarked during the movie, that fight scene that took place in the largest restroom on an airplane we've ever seen. And a reviewer I was reading said that you could tell this movie was really kind of over the top when they have a restroom on the airplane that's as large as, you know, that you can find in the most spacious palace.
But to bring up a point that I think is very important for us to make is that you have to suspend your disbelief on almost everything.
Yes.
You know, there's no repercussions from a couple of people actually getting blown out of the fuselage. you know, what, is that it? Is this all that happens when you blow a hole in it? No.
Oh, no, everybody gets sucked out. You know, and the plane decompresses and collapses like an empty toothpaste tube. But yeah, it makes it seem like that too. But some of the you got to go see this movie. I'm gonna recommend it. I know you always ask at the end of the review. But I recommend it. But pay attention to some of the characters. And not even some of the assassin ones, but like the two pilots, that you wonder, how could these two goofy guys, you know, earn their wings to pilot this, huge jet airplane, but also, and I think just as lovely as could be, the second lead in the movie, the young lady.
Charitra.
Yes.
Charitra Chandran, who's big TV stuff. And she is very, very engaging.
Very engaging.
So relaxed. It's just, Wayne Miller, look we have more to talk about, so people have to go to the WCBE, the podcast experience.
Well, okay.
Back talk. What do you recommend?
If they want to, for a fun summer movie that's entertaining, but you got to put aside any rationality, you know, I'm trying to get anything out of the movie. I would recommend go see.
We're all looking forward to Mission Impossible.
Yes, coming.
Which we don't have to promote much at all.
Oh, well, no, we've got a lot of stuff coming up too, because two tent pole weekends. The one coming up here this week, or next week, Memorial Day. But then 6 weeks later, 4th of July, which is I think on a Friday again. So I recommend it.
One thing, the Lenox Theater or the Gateway, one thing they can count on is that there'll be these two goofballs sitting alone in the theater.
Yeah, how many times? I know, it's funny. And it gives us that kind of Siskel and Ebert vibe,
Right.
you know, when on their show, there was the two of them in a movie theater.
Plus we can be bad boys without wording.
Well, I know, because I always wind up getting in trouble with the teenage assistant managers.